Every time a new Spider-Man movie comes out, it becomes popular to shit on all the ones that came before. I won't be talking about the quality of the movies per se, but the content of each Spider-Man character, as that seems to be where most of the toxicity stems from.
So first we started with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. This universe had the superhero movie medium in a chokehold until the MCU and Dark Knight movies came along. This was the public's definitive way they wanted a superhero movie to be made.
Many comic book movies in the late 2000s would try to mimic the early Spider-Man movies. After the studio and creatives fell out with each other, Spider-Man 4 was cancelled, leaving Spider-Man fans everywhere in dismay. After the Marvel Cinematic Universe rose to fame, Sony wanted to bring back Spider-Man for multiple reasons. One, of course, was money, and another, they wanted Spider-Man to cross over with the Avengers down the road. Eventually, Andrew Garfield got the gig to play the titular character. I would be lying if I said he wasn't welcomed with open arms, because for the most part he was. Then a small corner of the internet began to grow into an anti-fan base, all giving him crap for not acting like Tobey. From what I can tell, Andrew's movies were more of an interpretation of the Ultimate Comics, while Tobey was an interpretation of the original comic. And just for the record, most people that were arguing about Andrew and Tobey haven't read a single comic in their lives. Andrew's Spider-Man was always meant to be different from Raimi's adaptation, and to this day, Andrew is probably the most faithful Spider-Man on screen. It just shows that the Tobey Maguire fanbase became excessively toxic. And after the Garfield movies came to an abrupt ending, it was time for them to talk shit again.
Alright, I've run out of patience. On to ruse!
In 2016, Tom Holland made his debut as Spider-Man in Captain America: Civil War, and of course there were people that didn't like this new rendition, but until his solo movie, majority of the fandom thought he was cool. After Spidey's first movie in a cinematic universe, people were basically complaining that Spider-Man was in a cinematic universe. He had connections to Tony Stark that people didn't like, but Spider-Man in the comics is known for his crossovers and relationships with other Marvel characters. It's like the Raimi fanbase wanted remakes of the original trilogy as opposed to new fresh stories that they're not familiar with. They didn't like Andrew because he wasn't campy like Tobey. They didn't like Tom because he had help from other superheroes. They wanted an independent Spider-Man. The only fair criticism these people brought to why Tom isn't up there with Tobey is that his origin didn't address Uncle Ben. And okay, fine, but the plan always seemed to be to do something new. The director of the Home trilogy wasn't interested in going the same motions that the franchise had before. The Home movies and the Garfield movies still had the heart and feel of Spider-Man, just in their unique way to how their lives and universes are constructed. People said Tom didn't feel like Spider-Man, but the third act of Homecoming shows Peter's hope and responsibility. Far From Home shows a grieving and doubtful Peter make mistakes that puts his friends in danger, which if that isn't Spider-Man, then I don't know what is. Andrew's Spider-Man is filled with rage from the death of Uncle Ben, and it's more of a realistic origin than I could ask from Tobey. If Andrew's movies came before the Raimi movies and were as popular, people would prefer this type of Spider-Man more. It's just that simple. Tobey came first, so his fanbase feels like they deserve to be as toxic as they are. They think all the other Spider-Man movies are cheap copycats. I wouldn't say most Tobey fans were like this, but a large amount were. And it really tainted public discourse for Spider-Man movies. People who liked Andrew or Tom more than Tobey were basically bullied off of the internet, and these are young people arguing with 30-year-olds. Then it seems all Spider-Man fans rejoiced. After Spider-Man No Way Home came out, it gave each of the three Spider-Man their due respect, not putting one above the other and just celebrating their found brotherhood. Tom and especially Andrew were finally praised, as they should be by many Tobey fans, even as far to say Andrew is probably the best out of the three. 20 years of infighting finally stopped, but then, the Spider-Verse franchise has been considered the most beloved Spider-Man franchise ever since it debuted in 2018, and I would say this is the movie that got fans to realize that the live-action Spider-Man are different for a reason. Different universes and all. I noticed a similar toxicity with the Spider-Verse franchise with the Raimi movies, and I hate to say it because these movies are beautiful works of art, but they simply combine the best aspects of Spider-Man without forming its own guarded identity. People only say Miles is the best Spider-Man because his movies check more boxes than an average Spider-Man movie by including more hip-hop, more multiverse, and being in the animated medium. Most people don't like these movies for how it adds to the Spider-Man lore, but instead because of its unique feel. People that say Spider-Man was trash and corny until they made Into the Spider-Verse make me cringe because this movie wouldn't exist without the source material and other movies. That's why I consider this new fanbase to be toxic, because if you take away the unique animation, all the flashy references, it's just another interpretation. It also seems to be bigger than just Miles, but if nobody calls out the current problems, they'll never be solved. Every time a new Spider-Man movie comes out, it becomes popular to shit on all the ones that came before. It's bigger than Tobey, it's bigger than Andrew, it's bigger than Tom, and it's bigger than Miles. You guys are the problem. I've yet to actually see a live-action Spider-Man without heart or responsibility, just a different person behind the mask.